So my name is Shivon Robinson. I'm an assistant professor at Williams College in the psychology department, and I teach a bunch of different classes, but primarily I teach intro neuroscience and an upper level neuroscience course on the opioids crisis. So how opioids affect our brain and how that might lead to substance use disorders.
What advice would you give to your undergraduate self?
I thought about that for a while. I think the advice that I would give my undergraduate self is that there is no one path to where you're going. I think a lot of times first years or students who are just entering college feel like they have to follow a very specific path, take very specific classes to achieve their goals. Whereas I think this can really be a time and an opportunity to step out of your comfort zone, take classes you wouldn't have thought of taking, and really just take the opportunity to um, uh, try something different, something new.
What does your research focus on?
So our research is primarily focused on questions that are related to behavioral neuropharmacology, or in other words, the relationship between the brain, drugs, and behavior. Most recently, my work has focused on understanding how early life opioid exposure, be that in utero, neonatal exposure, or even adolescent exposure, how that impacts the brain, development, and long-term behaviors.
What type of opportunities are there for undergrads in your lab?
So in my lab, undergrads are involved in pretty much every aspect of our research. So from generating ideas to developing methodology to actually running the behavior or the molecular assays to analyzing the data and even writing the manuscript and presenting at conferences. And I think this is important for students to be able to see all of the steps of the scientific process. And it helps to give them a sense of ownership and independence when it comes to doing science.
How did you choose your field of study?
So my interest in neuropharmacology stemmed from an even earlier interest in clinical psychology. So I was really interested in how neuronal processing, how the brain can contribute to different mental illnesses like depression or anxiety. And that led me to pursuing a graduate degree in a topic where I could do research that tries to address some of those questions.
What do you like most about teaching neuroscience?
I think my favorite thing about teaching neuroscience is that it's so interdisciplinary. So the field really draws from other disciplines like biology, psychology, chemistry, computer science, philosophy, just to name a few. And so whenever I teach neuroscience, I'm always getting a group of students with such broad backgrounds, and it leads to really exciting discussions, conversations, even in generating ideas for experiments. You can really see how um, this variety in backgrounds can really contribute to neuroscience research and ideas. And then the other thing I really like about teaching neuro is that it's such a quickly evolving field, right? So things that I learned in graduate school, I'm not going to say they're obsolete, but it's just, been added on to so quickly. So it's really an exciting field to get into because advances are happening at such a rapid rate.
How do you keep your life outside of work fun and fulfilling?
I think that's such an important question. I think in any career, regardless of what you're doing, it's so important to have a balance between your personal life and your work life. And it's not necessarily always going to be 50-50, but you need to be intentional about making space and time for yourself. And for me, that's always been pursuing hobbies and activities that allow me to be creative. So I really love music. I've played in orchestras almost my entire life. I really love crafting, so crocheting, knitting, things where I get to create. So I think identifying those things that make you happy and making sure that you always continue to make time for that is how you can have a fulfilling life outside of, in addition to a fulfilling career.